Brought to you by Telehelping, a virtual assistant staffing company for professionals.
Hello, everyone. My name is Cody Hall, and I'm the host of The Faces, Entrepreneurs Are People Too, and the founding CEO of Telehelping, a virtual staffing company, and the here and sponsor of my podcast. So thank you so much for Telehelping for allowing me the opportunities to talk to wonderful people like Ashona. Ashona, how are you doing today?
I'm great. Thanks for having me.
No, I'm excited to have you. And everyone, this is Ashona's premiere podcast interview. So her first ever one. She's super nervous, and she shouldn't be because the only person who could really mess it up is me. And don't worry, we can always edit it. But
Mhm.
we like live takes. So, Ashona, I like to generally start off by just having you tell us who we're chatting with here today. Who is Ashona?
Well, my name is Ashona Fyffe. I am the founder of A&B Personnel Services. And what we do is we help companies with legal immigration pathways to be able to bring foreign workers into the United States to work for these companies. And then we also have a division, which is A&B Immigration Services. And that's where we help individuals and families with legal immigration pathways as well.
Wow. Yeah. And what an interesting business to be in right now, right? That's right. It's a tough one.
Definitely.
How has things changed for you over the past 6 months to a year with everything that's gone on with the new administration?
Well, it's been extremely difficult because, attaining international workers, we have to go through a lengthy, measures. And that's, of course, we have to go through the Department of Labor first. So that's the first, and it's long, you start off months and months ahead. And then after when you get through that hurdle, you have to go through the hurdle of immigration, USCIS. And then after that, you have to go through the hurdle of the Department of State, which is the U.S. embassies overseas in the countries that the individuals are coming to the United States. And then you have the hurdle of customs. So going through all these steps is already challenging, but as of late, there is a higher denial rate at the U.S. embassies overseas, and there's not really much that you can do with the
Yeah.
Department of State. So it has affected my business and other businesses as well, because these businesses, especially in like hospitality, they really, really depend on these workers because there actually is a labor shortage, especially like in hotels and restaurants and landscaping companies and construction companies. So it's has really made things extremely challenging.
Yeah. And this prompts an interesting question as a man who's married to an immigrant woman and has many folks in his family, both documented and documented, undocumented and documented throughout the vast cousins, uncles, tias, and everything. How do you think, the current deportation, does that impact your work? You're solely working with folks who are already in their home country, or do you work with folks who are currently in the country to help them get papers as well? Or is it just the home country?
It's both. Like for our division that's helping individuals, the A and B Immigration Services part, we are helping a lot of people, and the problem is the due process. People are being deported a lot quicker. They're
Mm,
just like just nitpicking at times, and then, we have individuals who are like really scared, who, so it's really, really difficult because you're seeing a lot more, tests, a lot more things that people weren't denied for, or just more work being done. It's real complex, and sometimes it can appear as if it's just like nitpicking or just not wanting to be able to have immigrants at all. And I don't mean this as any political standpoint, but I'm just saying that what
yeah.
appears on our desks and how hard, how much harder things are.
So it seems like the process may have become a little bit more stringent, right, lately, as of
Yeah.
such, of being more like, oh, we're going to deny it for the smallest thing now. Whereas before, maybe they would have been a little bit more flexible.
Yes. Yeah.
Yeah. I know it's tough. I worked extensively with the University of Purdue and their ag technology department. We're driving solutions for agriculture. And a lot of one of the like 5 key things that we were trying to bridge was labor, right? How
Mhm.
to get more folks legally in the United States, and I make the stance, and as does my wife who immigrated to the United States. I don't think illegal immigration is the answer, because illegal immigration, a lot of folks don't understand, it really hurts the home country, right? But at the same time, like, it's been going on so long. To give you an example, right? We just talked, this is a real thing right now in Mexico where I'm located. There is a crackdown on banks. They're really cracking down on banks, and they're
Mhm.
cracking down on banks that are used to send money back from the United States. So folks who do live in the United States who send money back to Western Union, Eureka, and other organizations like HSBC, they're getting cracked down on because that money is untaxed in Mexico, right? And
Uh-huh.
so you have folks who are legally working in the United States, some legal, but some illegal, and then they're propping up economies in Mexico. And so the crazy thing about that is when those folks get deported, right, that income goes away. And then now with the new administration as well, right, political non-political, I jump across the political lines all the time. People get offended. You can always unsubscribe, go watch another channel, right? But it's right there at the bottom left, right here, right next to
Uh-huh.
where you hit subscribe. But looking from that perspective is, it's difficult for folks back here now because the administration's also putting pressure on Mexico to be more cracking down on the cartel, which, you know, makes them crack down on banks. And now that money can't get back to Mexico without getting intersected by the Mexican governments. We say immigration, but man, it's the hit that it's taking to the entire world and how it's impacting both economies is kind of crazy. We don't have the labor here, and then now they don't have the income in Mexico.
Yeah, it's just one of those things where, it's just like, what next? Because it's like you come up with a legal solution in one area, and then next thing you know, you see something else is changing in another area. And maybe it's designed to do just that. Maybe it's, to discourage immigration, but it's truly something that I've never seen before out of my
Yeah.
8.5 years. This is something that I've truly never seen before. And it affects businesses, especially small businesses.
Like yours. And so
Yeah.
and I'm interested in how you are compensated. So are you paid for the attempt or are you paid for the completion?
Well, it also depends. Like, there's some employers where I'm just doing the legal paperwork for them. So I'm paid for that, and they already have their designated workers. And then there are some employers that already have the process in place, but they need help with recruitment. So I'm paid per person that's recruited. And then there's some where I do everything all together across the board. So I'm doing the legal documentation and I'm doing the recruitment. And I'm, the biggest part of it is the recruitment.
Yeah.
So and then so it has taken an effect because now the workers are not here. A lot of them are being denied, even some that has traveled for years. We have individuals that's been coming on the H-2B program for like 10, 15 years. And now they're unable to get approved at the
Yeah.
at the embassies overseas. So it affects everyone across the board.
And out of curiosity, what are some of the primary countries and industries that you are recruiting for?
Jamaica, of course, Jamaica. There's people from Mexico. There's people from El Salvador, Guatemala, Ecuador, Costa Rica, some, but a lot of them are like from Jamaica. We have some from South Africa. So it's pretty much like all over. And therefore, like the hospitality industry, like a lot of housekeepers, a lot of cooks, a lot of servers. So hotels and restaurants.
Yeah. It's interesting that you say that because I live in San Jose, Los Cabos, and we're seeing an influx in workers here that speak really good English. And so it's common in touristy places in Mexico to have English speakers. However, it's uncommon for them to be so more frequent and more basic roles. Oftentimes you find folks who speak English and maybe like a role that supports numerous different positions at a hotel, where now you'll find English speakers who are cashiers. And so we're finding, because there's so many of them, they're bleeding down into more and more roles. And
Mm-hmm.
so that is an interesting thing that we've recently noticed as well. And I have to say, here in telehelping, right, we're on the opposite side of you. We hire English speaking professionals to work for US based companies remotely. We don't do visas. What we do, there's a really small sector that we've done some visas for people who travel to the United States on the nursing and chef side of things. But, we're taking in folks who aren't going to utilize visas. They're just going to work remote. And we're seeing a lot more options in regards to who we hire, because there's a lot more folks who aren't in the United States anymore. Maybe they've been deported or could not travel back to the US or get their visas renewed.
Yeah.
So yeah, well, that's tough. And I think ultimately my personal unprofessional opinion, right, is that we've been in the extreme one direction so long that we're now swinging back in the other direction. And I always compare things to a pendulum, right? We had open border policy. Now we have a closed border policy. Maybe somewhere we'll have a revolving door policy, right? Where
Mm-hmm.
it's open and closing, but maybe we'll
Yeah.
get there. Hopefully, our objective, I'm not informed on these policies, but hopefully our objective is to create a healthy process for immigration and to patch the holes rather than bolt the door closed. Because I'm two generations away from Irish immigrants. My family came here 2 generations ago and went straight from the boat to the coal mine, right? So, right, which is kind of crazy. And so, I wouldn't be an American if we didn't have an immigration policy. And so, I think that it's something that we have to work on. So hopefully it's sooner than later for your business.
And that's the same thing. I'm the first generation American. My family's from Jamaica, my mother and my father from Jamaica, and we're the first generation American. So if we did not have immigration policies, I wouldn't be an American either.
I mean, look at it from this perspective. We were just talking about this 2 days ago. My wife and I driving down the road. She's a dreamer, right? Her mom was undocumented, right? Came to the United States, gave birth to her. If the dreamer policy didn't exist, my wife would have been illegal. And so, that doesn't exist anymore, right? They've signed an executive order, I believe, that stopped that. But, that's an interesting, process as well. So I'm interested to see, and I do apologize. My computer's ringing. Let me pause this real quick. Sorry, recording. I'll go right back to where I was saying. But I believe that it's interesting to know that she would not be a citizen if it wasn't for that policy. It's something that she thought about heavily. And actually, I think everyone who has papers in her family would not be citizens because all of her aunts and uncles who did make it to the United States did not do so legally, right? And so, yeah, it's a scary thought process.
It really is. And just seeing things that's happening, having people call, they're in fear. There are people that are in really bad situations and are truly afraid. We've been receiving calls from people that are like in detention on the brinks of deportation, and their children are American citizens, and it's just one big mess. It's really, really, really to be in this type of industry at the current moment, it's something that's extremely hard and never seen before.
Mm. And yeah, and I think that we're going to have to measure the impact on the economy for quite some time.
Yeah.
So, well, shifting gears, I'm interested to hear more about you as a person. Like, who is Ashana outside of the business?
Outside of the business, Ashona is a mom of four. I am a mom of four. I really couldn't I'm an entrepreneur. I'm a mom and I'm an entrepreneur. And that's just it.
But you're a
Like,
mom first.
yes, I am a mom first. I love being a mom, that is a big part of my life. And with the struggles of being an entrepreneur, my children is what keeps me going. It's what keeps me motivated. And they're my four little broke best friends.
And they don't pay any rent.
No, they don't.
Jeez. Yeah, no, I love my broke best friends, right?
Yeah.
How old are your children?
So my youngest is 8, my oldest is 16. So there's 8, 11, 12, and 16. And my 16-year-old, she previously graduated from high school. And then she just got her license 2 days ago. And then we're dealing with college for August. So I
At
really have a lot
at
on my plate.
16.
Yeah. She did a
So
year
she
early. Yeah.
I was gonna say, geez Louise,
Yeah.
she must be smart.
Yeah, she really is. She wants to be a pediatrician. So
Oh,
I pour
oh
a lot
my
into my children, their education, making sure that they have bright futures ahead of them and, making sure that they become responsible adults in society because that makes such a big difference, especially for
yeah.
the world that we live in now.
I love that. I my kids go to private school and my wife was like, oh my god, it's so expensive, blah blah blah. And I was like, I will give up my own pleasures, my own things, my hobbies, and
Mhm.
whatever those cost me if it means my kids going to a good schools, right? um like I just like you, I pour myself into my son. Like I want him to have the most opportunity that, I grew up like a special kind of poor white trash, right? For all those out there, like I grew up like real trailer park, right? And so like for me, like we moved around so much and went to so many schools that, I had to like, I'm not ashamed to say this. Like I joined the Marine Corps right after high school. And I swear to you, I didn't know the difference between there, and there are, right? Until
Mhm.
after I graduated the military, like out of the military, right?
Mhm.
Because I just didn't really have a good education. I grew up in the time of No Child Left Behind, right? Thank
Oh,
you for not leaving me behind, right? But it also required me I got out of the military, I had to take night schools, day schools, just to get the credits needed and the level needed to transfer into university, right?
yeah, wow.
And so I don't want that for my kid, right? I
Yeah,
want my kid to be able to read and write, when he's supposed to.
definitely. And I grew up in Brooklyn, New York, and my family, I come from a very, very highly educated family.
That's
So education has been like something that's very important, especially like being Jamaican, like in the Jamaican background, education is like the biggest thing. So I can say that I was able to get a good education because New York City has so many different programs. I remember when I was in mid school, I was in the architectural program. I thought I would have became an architect, but that didn't work out. So it's something that's very important. And me leaving the New York City area was to grow my kids up in a different environment because I too grew up in a rough environment and I didn't want that for my children. So I made sure anywhere that I live, always the first thing I did, I based it off of the ratings of the school and how safe the area, but the
Oh, that's
education
great.
was the number one part for it.
That's great because I mean, pick where we live based off the school
Well,
that my son goes to. It's expensive for Mexico, not wildly expensive for the United States, but I just, I was just when my wife said that, I was like, tell me what I need to give up. Like, I'm like, one, we can afford it, but two, if you think it's so expensive, I wanted to convey to her how serious I was about like, you tell me what I need to give up, right? Because I would do so, right? It's just, I think that's great that the Jamaican culture is focused on education, right? It just doesn't. It wasn't really present growing up where I was from, right?
mhm,
My mom, I feel like my mom sent me to school to get me out of her way and not so
mhm,
much to get an education, right? I didn't know what
mhm,
homework was until like I went to go live with my grandfather for a while. And I just remember
mhm.
him making us sit down there at the desk at the do homework. I'm like,
Mhm.
what is this? I'm gonna go play outside. Let me be free. So no, that's a beautiful thing. And congratulations on your daughter. I have a friend of mine. He has family is Puerto Rican and African-American. And
Mhm.
he's very similar ways. Like, I was dumb as a bag of sticks, right?
Mhm.
And he's like, and so he's like, when he's like, his kids go to like UC Davis, like one of them plays soccer in Germany, right? And like
Wow,
another,
that's
like one of them
impressive.
has it, like, he's just like, I'm successful through them. Like, I feel their success. Like, I'm jealous of my own kids. Like, that's what I want. I want to be jealous of my own kids.
I just want them to have the opportunities or live the life that I was unable to as a kid. And I mean, I'm happy for what my upbringings were because I wouldn't be who I am today and I wouldn't be able to raise my children. But at the
Yeah.
same time, too, I just wouldn't want them to have the same childhood that I did.
That's all we can ask for.
Yeah.
I commonly say I'm just trying to break my chain, like the chain. Like my family's really big on, even the successful ones. Right? I have an uncle who made more money than God, and somehow couldn't escape alcoholism, right? And being a man of like 5 wives, right? I'm like, my goal is to my goal is to break that, right? I'm trying to do differently. And so, yeah, I think it's a beautiful thing. And I think that also represents so much about what you do, right? Giving people an opportunity to pursue something greater than what they were initially served at birth. And so, and that opportunity could be going to the United States and working under a visa and maybe even finding a way to become a permanent resident, right?
Mhm.
And so I think that it's something that, I'm hoping that changes. But you know, if you could say one thing that you would want from the future immigration policy, you're like saying, oh, I have one wish. I just would like it to be this way. What would that desire be?
My one wish would be for people to be treated like human beings and not just numbers. It's not about, just deporting a whole bunch of people and not giving individuals their right to due process. I would love for things to be done, the policies to be made based on humanity and not just numbers.
Yeah. No, I agree. If and maybe we'll cut this short and we'll tag Donald Trump in it so that he can understand that. I know that I know people here in Mexico that have been deported, and I follow people who have been deported. You're taking folks and who have lived their entire life in the United States, and then you're sending them to a country they don't know, right? They're being
Yep.
deported. I know a woman who was deported with her, she was being deported, a single mom of 4. And so guess what? Her 4 US citizens had to go back to Mexico with her. Like, tell me what type of world did that create for 4 US citizens, right? And so wouldn't have been easier to find a way to legalize her, right? And I think that that is what we should find. And I agree with you. We should treat people like humans, right? These aren't cattle in a system here, right? We're ripping people's existence up. So, well, Ashana, like, there's so many people who watch our podcast, and I hope people reach out with you not only for their support with maybe getting access to their employees to the United States. I will definitely drop this towards my Purdue folks because a lot of the companies that I worked with through Purdue, are hiring. South Africa, huge source, crazy enough, huge source for operating tractors, right?
Mhm.
And equipment for farms, which are not simple things, by the way. They're like computers with 35-inch top. So I'm excited to stay connected with you. And I really appreciate you so much for coming on our podcast. This has been such a
Mhm.
pleasurable experience. And hey, listen, besides my stuff ringing, you did wonderful.
Mhm.
So I'm excited for you to start your podcast because I think that if you're interested in getting the stories out there of the folks that you work with, maybe the people who are going through their immigration process, be a beautiful opportunity for you to interview them and get their stories out there while what they're trying to pursue and help us, everyone out there, humanize the people that are stuck in this system. So
Yes,
thank you so much
definitely.
for Ashana. Thank you so much. And I hope you have a great rest of your day.
All right. Thank you.
This video was brought to you by our official sponsor, Telehelping. Need support for your business? Telehelping connects you with top-tier remote staff to help you streamline operations and fuel growth. Go to telehelping.com and get started today.